Okay, welcome everyone to another episode of Being Present with Leonard. And in this episode, I'm going to speak about responsibility and the role that responsibility plays in our awakening. So, responsibility arises simply because we've been given free choice. We're able to make whatever choice we like at any time during the day. We make choices about what we eat, how we want to spend our spare time, how we want to work and earn money. We're making choices all the time, choices in our interpersonal relationships. And we have to recognize that these choices inevitably have consequences. So, for example, when you make choices to eat unhealthy food, maybe 3 months later you've put on 10 pounds. That's a consequence. If you made a choice when you were very young, you made a decision to protect your heart and shut down your heart, not open to love, to protect yourself. Well, that's okay. That might have been the right thing to do at the time, but there are consequences. You'll find that there's not much love in your life if you made if you made that kind of choice. So with choices comes freedom, and with freedom comes responsibility. We're literally free to choose whatever we want. We've been granted free will by God. Now, why would God give us free will? Very simple. We're actually created in the image of God. Therefore, we have to have whatever God has within us. All the qualities of God are in us. Now, that includes intelligence, love, acceptance, compassion, true power, oneness. All these qualities, as you become more and more present, open up within you. As you become more and more present, as you settle into presence, as you become more and more fundamentally present, then you're gradually and gently opening to heaven on earth. And I can tell you that if you can't find heaven on earth here in physical form, while you're alive on planet Earth, you're not going to find it when you leave the body. You're not going back to heaven. You might for a brief visit, but that's all. I'm not going to go into all the details now. So we are truly responsible for ourselves in every way, including our own awakening. So that's my little talk on responsibility. And as I said, if you want freedom, then responsibility comes along with it. Okay, and when I say responsible, I don't mean you're responsible for other people or other people's feelings. You're responsible for your own feelings. You're responsible for how you choose to communicate with other people. You're responsible for the words that come out of your mouth. You're responsible for the energy you bring to the world or to other people. You're responsible at every level, and those who can embrace true responsibility at every level will almost certainly awaken in this lifetime, if you can manage that. Now, we're not used to it. We're used to a complete abandonment of responsibility. Let me share with you some feelings that indicate abandonment of responsibility: blame, guilt, expectation, resentment, anger, even hurt, sadness, pain. There's no need. You might have a genuine, authentic feeling of hurt and sadness and pain. Maybe a loved one dies. That's okay. You're responsible for allowing all your feelings to surface and to go through that process of grieving fully. But you're also responsible for finding the end point of your grieving. You don't have to continue grieving. You don't have to continue in any kind of negative energy. If you notice negative energy, just gently come out of it. Come back to presence and a more positive energy. Okay, so I have a number of questions which I'm going to answer, hopefully briefly, because I want this to be fairly brief. This question is from Tess from Sacramento, California. Tess writes, I seem to be on a path of awakening through suffering. but it's sometimes in the way of me becoming present. Is it possible to shift over to the path of intelligence? Okay, well, you've obviously heard me talk about that in the past because you're using all my terminology here, and I talk about this. I've spoken about this many times in workshops and retreats. Yes, you really should hurry up and make that shift from the path of suffering to the path of intelligence. Now, most of us have been insistent on the path of suffering. What does that mean? It means nobody wants to wake up out of a happy dream. So some of us make our dream or our dream very, very difficult, full of suffering. Either we choose that from the soul level before we even incarnated, because that's what we thought we needed, suffering to wake up out of the dream, which is perfectly legitimate. And we've been doing that for thousands and thousands of years. But it's just unnecessary. There is no need for suffering. So you should identify as your path of awakening a path of suffering. Is your life full of suffering, difficult feelings, negative thoughts, limiting beliefs, judgments of yourself and others? Is your path full of suffering? Because if it is, you can make a shift very easily. Now, what is that shift? To the path of intelligence. Well, here's the good news. You don't have to be that intelligent, but you have to be intelligent enough to recognize the truth in one simple statement. If you recognize the truth in this one single statement, then you will shift from the path of suffering to the path of intelligence. Now, what is that one simple sentence? Here it is, folks. Get ready, be ready for it. And if you can recognize the truth in this next statement, it will be wonderfully beneficial in moving from the path of suffering to the path of intelligence. Now, here's the question. I like a build-up. So here's the statement. In truth, there is no life outside of this moment. Everything outside of this moment is an illusory world made up of our memories from the past, our concepts, our ideas, our opinions, our beliefs, our judgments, all of it. That So that's the path of intelligence, is simply to recognize the truth of that simple statement. Now, even though it seems so obvious, how can you live outside of this moment? What life is really available to you other than this moment presenting itself to you and you responding and living your life fully moment to moment? This is the only life really available to you. But very few of us, if hardly any of us, are living in that way. We're mostly absorbed into the world of the past with the memories, the ideas, the concepts, the opinions, the preconceptions, or we take ourselves too far into the future with our imagination, hoping, planning, dreaming, and that all that has a role to play in life within the dream, but it doesn't have a role to play in the awakening to presence. So how can anyone resist that simple statement? In truth, there is no life outside of this moment. Let that guide you. Whatever's happening in your life, is it arising in this moment authentically, or is it arising from somewhere in your past and then coming up through the present moment? But it's really past content, past limiting belief, past judgment, past trauma. Is that what's filtering through into your day-to-day life? Because if it is, then you're not really present and you're not in the truth of that simple statement. You're not there is no life outside of this moment. Well, you're well and truly outside of this moment. So anyone that can truly recognize the truth in that simple statement will dramatically improve their chances of awakening in this lifetime. That's all I can say. Okay, so now I'm going to read the second question. This is from Judita from New Zealand. Now, I must say, we've got some pretty deep questions here. I'm almost reluctant to answer them because there needs a certain preparation to really get what I'm saying, but I'll do it anyway. So this is from Judito from New Zealand. Hi, Leonard. Firstly, thank you for being you. I have a question about why we decided to shift from the heavenly realm. Was it our sole decision? If I existed in perfect oneness with God, in a formless existence, why would I choose duality? Thank you so much. Well, this is tricky because for me to answer this question, I have to go into the whole history of our existence. And I don't really want to do that because I want this to be a short live stream. But I'll just tell you this much. Let's just play a little game, a little imagining, a little storytelling, and see if you can't relax into the story that I'll be telling you, as if you're a young child or an innocent child. So, before the beginning of time, before any possibility of duality, before anything could arise other than perfect eternal oneness, we could call it heaven, we could call it paradise, we could call it the pure land that Buddha spoke of. There are many names we can give to it. But that's how it was for us. We existed before the journey began. We existed in perfect oneness with God and all that is. And yes, it was formless, meaning no physical form attached to it, unless you call light bodies a form. But I don't think so. It's more an energy body. But it really doesn't matter. Don't start arguing with me on that point. So here we are sitting, hanging around, enjoying heaven. And all of a sudden, one of God's closest beings walks up to us as we're sitting in our circle and says, "Who loves God?" Now, of course, we all put our hand up. This is before the journey began. Of course we love God. God is love. I am love, of course. And it's such a beautiful, deep, divine love. We feel it constantly, God's love, our love. We feel it constantly. It's always there. We've never experienced any kind of feeling separate. So this is what it was like, let's say an eternity in heaven. Then all of a sudden, one of God's beings walked up and said, "Who loves God?" We all say, "Yes, we do." And then the next question was, who would be willing to be in service to God? Oh, we will, of course, whatever God wants, no problem. So we're in service to God. We all say yes, of course, enthusiastically. Then the next thing is, well, who's willing to go on a journey for God? Yes, we will, whatever God wants, we will, no problem. So in an instant like that, off we go. But we made some very big mistakes. We shouldn't have done that. We should have said, "Excuse me, God, but exactly where are we going? How long are we going to be there? And how do we get back to you, God, oneness?" So let's move forward a fraction because the button was pressed and everyone's on their journey. But it's a journey into duality. And although we volunteered for it, we didn't really know what we were volunteering for. We just loved God and wanted to be of service. Now, the moment we enter duality, we've moved away from the oneness. Oneness is transcendent of duality. But now we're in the duality and we don't have that same feeling of connection to God. In fact, we feel a certain separation. We can't feel God. And instantly we judged it. We don't like this. We want to go back to where we were. Instantly. I don't like this. It's dark. I don't feel God's presence. I don't like this. Because the original duality, or one way to look at it is, the original duality is from oneness to separation. We didn't like the separation. We didn't like feeling separate. We still don't. And we invent all sorts of ways to escape the feeling of separation. But we didn't like it, we judged it. Now, in the moment of judging the separation, we locked ourselves into it. And we've been locked ever since. That's the simple truth. Now, I don't expect anyone to believe what I'm saying. If it fits, if it resonates, if it makes sense at some level, don't take me too literally. It's just a story. But if it touches something deep within you, you'll realize that you've been on this journey for God. So let's all stop complaining and complete the journey. That's the point I'm making. So we all want to go back, even at an unconscious level. We're all absolutely wanting to go back to heaven. We have a very deeply buried memory of heaven, and we want to go back there. But that's not where we're destined to go. It's not back to heaven. It's to become so present that you awaken to heaven on earth. If you find your way to heaven on earth in this lifetime while you're in physical form, living your life, if you find your way to heaven on earth, then guess where you're going when you leave the body? Unless you volunteer for more service. But it's really that simple. So I don't want anyone to believe what I'm saying. If it resonates, great. If it doesn't, throw it away. But don't bother with negative comments. I'm not going to, I'll read them and delete them. So don't do that. You're welcome to have a different view of mine, but I have no interest in arguing or discussing the matter. Okay, next question is from Andrew from Romania. Okay, this will be a very short answer. Andrew writes, I find myself having difficulties with the technical issues in my job and I don't quite fit in. I cannot figure out how I can be present among all these technicalities. Well, you know, whenever you're in the mind, it's kind of a technical world. It's made up of all these bits and pieces that fit together and don't fully fit and don't properly fit. So what I would suggest, Andrew, is a very simple solution. Go to work, be excellent at working with the technical issues, technical aspects of your job, but once every hour, stop everything. Sit down at your desk if you have a desk. Maybe you've got a little pot of flowers, some flowers on the table in front of you. Become very present with the flowers. Or if there's a door handle nearby, become very present with the door handle. Become very present with something just for 1 minute. Your role is to let the present moment know that you know where the truth is. It is here now. It is here with you, door handle. It is here with you, flower. It is here with you, desk. Whatever is in the present moment with me. So, you know, it's written somewhere, give to God what belongs to God and give to the world what belongs to the world. I think it's God and mammon. I'm not sure of the terminology. So I would go with that. Master the technicalities, enjoy it, be grateful for the technicalities, be grateful for the job that you have and the income you're producing for yourself, and take time off to let the present moment know that you know. What do you know? You know where the truth is. It is you utterly present with what is here in the moment with you. That's as close as any of us get to the truth. You utterly present in the silence, absorbed into oneness, absorbed into isness, experiencing whatever arises within you, not from the mind, but from the center of your being. It might be bliss. It might be ecstasy. It might be deep, deep peace, eternal peace. It might be revelation after revelation. It doesn't matter. It's almost not your business. Your business is to bring you yourself to a deep, deep state of presence. Then pay attention, be open, be loving. Don't try and hold on to anything. Don't try and grasp onto anything or get anything. Just bring yourself present in a most generous, loving way. If you can be present with the door handle and quite sincerely tell the door handle, thank you for bringing me present. You are so beautiful. I love you. Now that might sound ridiculous, but I've witnessed that over and over with door handles. When people become present with the door handle, or for that matter, anything, they start to open into love and gratitude and appreciation. It's kind of a little, it sounds crazy to those people that haven't experienced it. Okay, last question is from Luna from Melbourne. I guess that's Melbourne, Australia. Hi, Leonard. And this is an intelligent question. I don't mind this question in the slightest. Would it be dangerous to say that everything is just illusion from the mind, even though it is the truth in the present moment? May it not be misapplied to act carelessly? For example, is it okay to kill if everything is just a dream? What is karma and reincarnation plays in this confusing way? Where is justice? Well, let me tell you, justice really comes in the form of karma. As you sow, so shall ye reap. Whether you're sowing negative, abusive, painful, hurtful karma against other people, then you're going to accumulate that karma. Or if you're very positive and you're relating to people in a very positive, uplifting way, that's also karma, but a different kind of karma, a very positive karma. So so what you're not understanding, Luna, is that with presence, you get the whole package. It just comes with the territory. So not only are you present, but you feel very loving, very open, very accepting. There's no judgment in you. You're not trying to gain power over anyone. You're not worried about what other people think of you. You're not lost in ambition and competitiveness, although you are committed to being the best version of yourself in everything you do and in every possible way, the best version of yourself. So, for example, are you a little kinder today than you were yesterday? Are you a little more accepting, a little less judgmental than you were yesterday? Are you? Did you notice you've been generous today? And is that the best version of yourself? And don't forget that each day it can continue to improve and refine. At the end of the day, it comes down to, have you been present? Are you present? Now, you don't have to worry about people who are not present applying these laws of presence. They're not even going to know what they are. They would run from them as quickly as possible. Nobody wants to hear the truth that holds themselves responsible. So I wouldn't worry about that at all. Anyone who's had some degree of presence in their lives, they're going to be much more, they'll be acting much more in integrity, in alignment with presence, as they play in the world of time, as they play in the dream. But they don't get lost in the dream. That's the difference. Everything changes when you're present and you really, really see through the nature of the dream, how you've been living for the past 38 lifetimes. Believing in your thoughts. Most of those thoughts were just conditioned into you anyway. They're not even your thoughts. And your thoughts are not even limited to your thoughts. You don't know where you're picking up thoughts from. So the world of the mind is extremely vast, and anyone can enter it. Just think your way out of the present moment into the past and future. You see, all thought, by its very nature, will instantly take you into the past or the future, by its very nature. You can't think about the present moment. The only thing that's possible is to be present and allow the expression to arise from presence, not from within the mind. Most of us, even people on a path of awakening, they might experience some fairly deep presence, but then they think they have to go back to the mind to talk about it or to communicate with other people. And that's a big mistake, of course. Okay, well, I'm doing pretty well here. So that's the last question, and I wouldn't be too worried about that. Karma will take care of everything, and people who don't know presence cannot in any way cannot in any way apply the principles of presence, truth of presence.